Object lessons are a great way to demonstrate a abstract concept into a concrete way. Now, kids, they generally learn concrete concepts really easy, but it kind of can be very hard to describe something or teach an abstract concept without some sort of demonstration. And that's where object lessons come into play. They're a great way to bridge those connections. But here are some things that you need to know about running an object lesson. 1, make sure that it connects with the lesson. Object lessons are cool and it's really fun to make something explode or catch on fire. But if it doesn't relate directly to what you're teaching or the abstract concept that you're trying to teach in a concrete way, then it really isn't necessary. Or it might be really hard or make it even more confusing for the kid. So definitely make sure that you can put a bridge between the concrete to the abstract and vice versa. So when you do an object lesson, make sure that you go and say, hey, this represents this, and this represents this. And when that reaction happens, this represents this abstract concept. So first rule is to make sure that the object lesson fits the concept or principle that you're trying to teach. Secondly, practice. Anytime you use an object lesson, you want to practice it and practice it so well where it starts to become natural to you. That way, when you teach it, you can definitely it rolls right off your tongue and you're flowing and your hands are moving with you. So definitely practice it while talking. Don't just think that, hey, I'm gonna go in there, wing it, and everything's gonna work out right. I have practiced things in the past and it worked out great, but I did not practice them to the point where it was natural to me and things have fallen apart. So make sure that you practice your object lesson beforehand while teaching. Number 3, have a backup plan. But just because sometimes even when you practice, things go wrong. So if something goes wrong, make sure that you have a plan in your head about what you're going to do if something should fail. That way you're not caught in 5 seconds thinking about, oh my goodness, how am I going to recover from this failure of the object lesson? Sometimes it's straight up coming out, hey, that didn't work, guys. Let's try it one more time. But make sure that you have a plan about how you're going to handle things if something should go wrong. 4th thing, make sure that your supplies are there and ahead of time. So make sure that you don't think that the bowl's there. Make sure that the bowl is actually there. You want to make sure that all of your equipment is clean, because if there's dirt or residue left over from another experiment, it's going to definitely affect what happens when you do the object lesson in the classroom. So make sure that you have everything and that it's clean and ready to go. And lastly, you don't have to do object lessons all by yourself. Sometimes you can call up an assistant, be another leader in the room, or a kid to help you out. It all depends on the object lesson. So definitely, if there's fire, we only want adults working with fire. But if it's something like, hey, can you pour this liquid into something else, like iodine into water or a food dye, that is absolutely fine to ask for a kid to help you out in the classroom with that object lesson. But make sure that that person, you talk to them ahead of time. Don't just catch them off guard or like at the last minute, it's like, hey, can I catch you on fire? We don't want to do that. We definitely want to include others, but make sure that they are prepared ahead of time. So talk to them ahead of time. Ask them like, hey, when this part of the lesson comes around, can you help me with this part? Or can you help me clear away these things while I continue on with the lesson so that it's not a distraction or, you just don't want it in the way for something else that's going on. So again, talk to others ahead of time about your object lesson, what you're doing. But again, object lessons are a great and fantastic way to teach kids about the Bible and to relate principles to their everyday life in a way they can understand. So I encourage you to look at the object lessons that are in the lessons, come prepared, and be ready for great results.